Mind your RAS. Assalamu alaikum everybody. Welcome to another episode of That Behavior Change Show. Today we are going to talk about something really fascinating, and this is the reticular activating system, or known as the RAS. See the RAS as your mind's personal filtering information system, right? It's the one that decides what information gets through and what information stays in the background. So the RAS is a network of neurons in your brain, right? See it as the gatekeeper of information. It chooses which information that you absorb every single day, which is a lot, right? It chooses which information to bring to your conscious awareness and which information to just ignore, right? I'll give an example. Say you're in a room of a lot of people, so it's crowded, it's noisy. But when somebody calls your name, somehow through all the noise, you'll hear them. Another example, really good example, is a mom. Regardless of where they are, no matter how noisy it gets, when their baby cries and they hear that cry, they will hear that cry, right? Now, the RAS decides of which information to bring to your attention, which information to ignore, based on your beliefs, your fears, your goals, your thoughts, conscious thoughts, and the subconscious thoughts. It's literally based on your internal dialogue with yourself. So why does the RAS have to filter information? Why can't we just absorb all the information that we consume, right? Well, because the brain has a limited ability, a limited processing power. It can't process every bit of data that you consume. Can you imagine if it had to process everything from the moment you wake up, everything you see, everything you heard, everything you smelt, every social media second, right? That is a lot of information. That is really overwhelming. And as a protective mechanism to stop us from being overwhelmed, right, it chooses which information is important to you and which isn't at that moment in time. A really good example is if you've ever tried to buy a car. Let's say you're trying to buy a red Mercedes, right? Suddenly, you're looking at red Mercedes, you're looking at reviews, you're looking at shops, and now suddenly on the road, all you're seeing is red Mercedes. Those cars were there before, but because before they weren't important to you, but now, because it's what you're focusing on, you're becoming more aware of it. You're becoming more conscious about it. And this is what the RAS does. It takes the information that it thinks is important to you, again, based on your thinking, based on what you're doing, based on your action and all of these things. And then it says, aha, this information is important to this person, so I am going to make sure that they see it. The opposite is true as well. If you're someone, say you have a deadline at work, right? You're going to hear every second of that clock, aren't you? You're going to be aware of the clock ticking down. Any other day, it doesn't matter. But because you're on a deadline, because you're focusing on time, you're going to be more aware of the time, because at that moment in time is important to you. So all in all, the RAS is a really important part of the brain. It helps us, it focuses on wakefulness. It helps us process information. It helps us focus on the things that are important to us at this moment in time. It helps us get away from distractions and things like this. And here's where it really gets interesting. The RAS doesn't decide which information to show us. That's not its job, right? We tell it what information to show it. It learns what information to show us based, like I said before, on our beliefs, on our thoughts, on our internal language. If I constantly tell myself this journey is too hard, I am going to fail, the RAS is going to show me all the reasons to prove me right, because the function of the RAS, again, is going to show us what's important to us, whether it's good or bad. So if my belief is I can't do it, it's going to show me all the information that's going to prove me right, that's going to prove that I really can't do it. However, if my language was, you know what, this journey is challenging, but I've got this. I can do this. I know I didn't get the workout in today, but look at my meals. I had a salad, I had protein, I had healthy carbs. When you're focusing on what went well, your RAS is going to go, okay, cool. I'm going to show you all the things that you're doing really, really amazing. So it literally picks up what we're already thinking and it enhances it, because the function of it is to prove us right. It's on our side. The only thing is that it doesn't know whether the thought is good or it's bad. Only we know that. All it knows is, okay, she's thinking about this a lot. It must be important to her. So I'm going to show her all the information. I'm going to bring all this information to her awareness, conscious awareness, because I want to prove her right, because it is important information to her at this moment in time. If we're going to look at this from the Islamic perspective, subhanAllah, in our deen, the heart isn't just an organ that pumps blood, right? The heart is about understanding and filtering what truly matters to us as Muslims. Like the ayah in the Quran that says they have hearts which they do not understand. This really points out that real awareness, right? Real awareness, it comes from within, not just from the brain. Again, the whole idea around what you focus on, right? What you keep in your heart is what you're going to keep noticing over and over again. One of the most things that I see often in the health and fitness space is when things don't go as planned. People start to have, as humans, we have a negative bias anyway, right? We always focus on what hasn't gone well as opposed to focusing on what goes well. And because a lot of us do this, every time the journey gets hard, we start to have the self-negative talk, and then what happens, we see all the things that are actually going wrong, right? See, I couldn't do this yesterday. I couldn't eat well. I couldn't exercise. I made this excuse. So that information is being highlighted to us because that's our language. We're telling the RAS, show me this, prove me right. Now, how would your health and fitness journey, how would your capacity to change your behaviors be if you didn't have that language? If you were able to say, yeah, okay, this is hard, but I can do X, Y, Z. But look, I ate well today. I didn't get a 60-minute workout in, but I got a 5-minute workout in, right? So how would it look like if our language was more focused on what we are doing well versus what we're not doing well? What's going to happen is that it's going to create a feedback loop, a positive feedback loop. Because when you focus on the things that are going right, you're building a library of evidence that you can do this, the competence aspect of the journey, right? And the more belief that you have you can do it, the more actions you're going to take, the different thoughts you're going to have, right? And your RAS is going to go, yeah, she's thinking about all the good stuff. Amazing. I'm going to show her all the good stuff that she's doing. So the RAS is going to bring that information to your forefront. The more of that information you have, the more encouraged you are. And it continues to be this loop where you're now able to focus on what's going right, sticking to the journey, being able to stay consistent. And before you know it, subhanAllah, you're achieving all the goals that you want to achieve. It all started from how you talk to yourself, especially on the days that are challenging. Those are often the days that, those are usually the days where people get into trouble, where people get stuck because now the shame and the judgment and the self-criticism comes into play. And then eventually they just stop and give up because they see themselves as people who can't do it. So here's a few things that you can do that can help. The first thing is this: when we're on a health and fitness journey, we want to feel competent. We want to feel like I can do this, I've got this. And to be able to do that, we want to be able to set realistic goals. Set goals, daily goals that given the season of life you're in, you're going to be able to achieve them 100%, right? Because again, that continues to build the library of evidence that you've got this, you can do it. Again, that's going to help with your internal language, with your confidence, and then your RAS is going to pick up on that and continue to show you all the good things that you're doing. That's the first thing. The second thing, on the days where things are challenging, and they are going to happen, The bad days on this journey are just as important as the easy ones. So expect them to happen. On the days when you have those days, watch your language, because remember, your RAS is going to prove you right, whether it's good or it's bad. Try those two things, inshallah, and I would love to know how it works out for you. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.